And joining us now, the former governor of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura. He's out with a brand new book entitled Don't Start the Revolution Without Me. Governor, how could they start a revolution without you? That simply is not going to happen.
Well, I look at it this way, Wolf. I'm hoping that they do. You know, that's one of the questions I raise. Do I have to come back here and start it?
When you say come back here, we're going to get to this. You've been spending a lot of time in Mexico lately. Hold on for a moment on that. Let's talk presidential politics right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. You don't like Hillary Clinton. You don't like Barack Obama. You don't like John McCain. So who are you going to vote for?
Well, you know what I wish they had in the United States, Wolf? I wish they had on all the ballots, be it local, state, or federal, none of the above. And everyone chuckles at that, but what that truly would mean is that I'm here, I'm participating in the system, I'm voting, but it's also a vote of no confidence in your government. And I believe strongly that if they did that, at local, state, and national, you would see none of the above occasionally win.
So what's wrong with these three presidential candidates?
Well, they're all part of the system. Look what the Democrats and Republicans have done right now. You know, in the private sector, you work your whole life to save money and to leave your children something, whatever it might be. Well, in our public sector, what we're going to leave our children is a $9 trillion debt. That's where it's at right now, courtesy of the Democrats and Republicans who have created it.
So is there an independent candidate out there you would vote for?
Not right now, I don't think, because it's so difficult to get on the ballot. Look what they did to Ralph Nader. Whenever he'd get ballot access, then they'd sue him, they'd tie it up in court, and they'd hold it till he couldn't get the ballot access. And that's, of course, what they call democracy, the two-party system.
So you're not going to vote, is that right?
I don't know if I'll vote or not. If I do vote, I will pick out somebody, the Libertarian, the Green Party. I know that I will vote for anything but a Democrat or Republican.
What would you like to hear General David Petraeus say tomorrow when he testifies before Congress?
I would like him to say we're on the verge of pulling out of Iraq, a war we should have never gone into in the first place. You know, when you live outside the country like I do, Wolf, you see the country from the outside looking in. That's a whole different perspective sometimes than the inside looking out. We're not very liked. In fact, the most popular T-shirt I see down in Mexico, it has a picture of George Bush and it says weapon of mass destruction on it.
You agree with that?
Well, I agree with the fact we should have never gone in there. I mean, look at the Vietnam War. They lied to us about that. The Gulf of Tonkin incident now, McNamara's come out and said never happened. Iraq, there were no weapons of mass destruction. There were no ties to al-Qaeda. Again, it's a war based on fraudulent intelligence, manipulation of that intelligence, and from South Minneapolis, we call that lying.
What are you doing and living in Mexico now?
I'm learning how to surf because my new goal in life, I want to ride one wave with Laird Hamilton. It might kill me, but it'll be something I'd like to try.
Well, you were once a Navy SEAL, weren't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you know how to swim.
I know how to swim very well. I was a frogman. I have no fear of the water, but the only problem for me now is age. I'm 56.
56. Well, you're still a relatively young guy. You got a lot ahead of you. Let's talk about Minnesota, your home state. You were the governor of Minnesota. There's a very important Senate contest that's going to happen this year. Al Franken, the comedian, now a serious Democratic politician, versus the incumbent Norm Coleman. Who do you support?
Well, neither. You got Norm Coleman, who's a chicken hawk. He wouldn't serve in Vietnam. He protested against it. Now he's rubber-stamped George Bush every vote he wanted for the war in Iraq. Then you got Al Franken, a carpetbagger. He hasn't lived in Minnesota for 30 years. I'd be surprised if he even had a Minnesota driver's license. And if he does, he just recently got it. Well, Wolf, look at it this way. What would happen to this race if I jumped in?
Well,
because, you know, I have till July to file, don't I?
What are you going to do?
Oh, I don't know yet. I got till July to decide.
You want to be a United States Senator?
I don't know. I might look into it a little bit. I'd sure cause a lot of hate and discontent in Washington if they sent me there.
Well, let me ask you this. What would be the big issue that you would challenge these two politicians over?
Over just that. send somebody to Washington, have the courage to break the stranglehold of the two-party dictatorship, and send a true independent to Washington who's not controlled by special interest or their money, who could vote his conscience and could truly represent the state of Minnesota rather than the Democratic Party or the Republican Party.
It's interesting you say all this, because you came almost out of nowhere and got elected in a three-man race for governor of Minnesota. So what you're hinting at right now, you're thinking about doing the same thing in the Senate contest?
I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I don't know how serious yet, but let's remember, I already beat Norm Coleman once.
When he was running for governor and you beat him.
That's right.
So you got a little history there. Do you also not like these two guys personally? Is that part of it?
No, it has nothing to do with personality. It's got to do with their positions and what they stand for. Again, Mr. Coleman wouldn't serve in Vietnam, and yet today he votes for everything to send our kids to war. And you know, sending someone to war, in my opinion, is really a simple decision, Wolf. You know what it comes down to? A war is justified if you're willing to send your son. If you're not willing to send your son, how do you send someone else's?
Jesse Ventura's book is entitled Don't Start the Revolution Without Me. Governor, thanks for coming in.
Wolf, always a pleasure. I look forward to it again when you invite me back, if you will.
Certainly will. Appreciate it.
Thank you.